What if I told you that Squid Game isn't just a show, it's a reflection of how we live today? The fear, the betrayal, the competition. It's not just entertainment, it's a mirror. Squid Game actually reveals a psychology about survival, trust, power, and most importantly, the hidden forces shaping our lives. Before we dive any further, let's address the elephant in the room. Would anyone ever actually play? For the characters in Squid Game, it's desperation, crushing debt, broken families, a society that's left them behind. The unsettling truth, many of us are playing. Maybe not life or death games, but we gamble with our health, our relationships, and even our integrity when trapped by circumstances. When life feels like a losing game, even the riskiest chances start to look like salvation. That's the mindset that drives the players into the first game: red light, green light. In Squid Game, players are thrown into a deadly version of the childhood game, red light, green light. The goal is simple: move forward on green light and freeze when the robotic doll says red light. But there's a deadly catch. If you're caught moving at the wrong moment, you're eliminated. And if you fail to reach the finish line before time runs out, you're also eliminated. It's a game of timing, precision, and a constant battle between action and inaction. This is what psychologists refer to as performance pressure, where the fear of making a mistake can paralyze us. Pair that with the fear of failure, and you've got a recipe for indecision and anxiety. In life, just like in red light, green light, both moving and staying still can be dangerous. Think about it. Your career path, for example. A new uncertain opportunity might seem risky, but staying stuck in a job you've outgrown also carries dangers. Burnout, stagnation, lack of growth. In the game, it's the robotic doll's unblinking gaze watching you. In real life, it's the judgment of others, your boss, your peers. The longer you wait, the harder it is to move, eliminated by inaction. The real lesson of red light, green light is that every decision carries risk, whether you move or stay still. Inaction might feel safer in the moment, but the clock doesn't stop ticking. The key isn't avoiding risk altogether, it's choosing your moves carefully. The Dalgona challenge forces players to carve out a specific shape, a circle, a star, or the dreaded umbrella from a brittle piece of honeycomb candy. One wrong move, one crack, and they're eliminated. The players pour their focus, sweat, into one single approach to solving the task, desperately clinging to their fragile chances of survival. The psychological concept at play here is cognitive rigidity, which refers to the inability to adapt to new situations or think outside of established patterns. In the Dalgona challenge, many players failed because they stuck to one strategy, scraping the candy with a needle, even as it became clear that this approach wasn't working. In life, cognitive rigidity often shows up in high-pressure situations where we become fixated on doing things the right way, even when an alternative might work better. Think about a student studying for an exam who insists on rereading the textbook, even though they'd retain more by practicing questions or watching videos. Or someone at work who clings to outdated methods, ignoring new tools that could make the job easier. In the Dalgona challenge, players were so focused on not cracking the candy that they couldn't think creatively. This fear-driven rigidity kept them from exploring other methods, like licking the candy, which proved to be an unexpectedly effective solution. The Dalgona challenge reveals that survival isn't just about persistence, it's about adaptability. Sticking to one approach when it isn't working can be just as dangerous as doing nothing at all. In tug of war, two teams pull on opposite ends of a rope, with the losing team plummeting to their deaths. Victory isn't determined by brute strength alone, it's about strategy, coordination, and trust. This highlights what psychologists call group dynamics, which refers to how people interact, cooperate, and sometimes compete within teams. Imagine a work project where success depends on everyone contributing their skills. If one person slacks off or undermines the process, the whole team suffers. Similarly, in a family, effective collaboration, like dividing chores or supporting each other emotionally, can prevent stress and conflict from spiraling out of control. The psychology of group dynamics also reveals the dangers of overconfidence and poor leadership. When teams fail to communicate or rely too heavily on one person, the entire system can collapse. Think about toxic workplaces where infighting or micromanagement prevents success. Tug-of-war isn't just about teamwork. It's a reminder that survival often depends on our ability to trust and collaborate, even in the most dire circumstances. But here's the real insight. Collaboration isn't a guarantee of success. It requires constant effort, open communication, and a willingness to adapt. Without those, even the strongest team can lose. Not because they lack strength, but because they lack unity. The marbles game starts with a cruel twist. Players must pair up, assuming they'll work together, only to discover that they are playing against each other. The outcome is heartbreaking, as friendships are tested and betrayals unfold. Psychologists call this the fragility of trust, which refers to how easily bonds can be broken under pressure. This is also tied to empathy fatigue, a state where emotional exhaustion leads to detachment, making betrayal easier to justify. Imagine co-workers vying for the same promotion in a tight job market. Trust and camaraderie might erode when personal stakes rise. Similarly, friendships can falter when only one opportunity exists, forcing individuals to prioritize self-preservation over loyalty. Betrayal stings deeply because trust requires vulnerability. When trust is violated, it can alter how we approach future relationships, leading to caution or avoidance. In Squid Game, the emotional weight of betrayal is amplified by life or death stakes. But in real life, emotional betrayal can feel just as devastating. The marbles game teaches us that trust is both our greatest strength and vulnerability. Surviving as individuals may sometimes require tough decisions, but thriving as humans means holding on to empathy, even when it feels impossible. The glass bridge forces players to leap across panels of glass, some of which will shatter under their weight. Those at the front risk everything, paving the way for those behind. This is what psychologists call the illusion of control, where we overestimate our ability to influence outcomes in situations largely dictated by chance or external forces. Consider wealth inequality. A person born into privilege often has access to better education and resources, allowing them to learn from others' mistakes and avoid significant risks. Those born into less fortunate circumstances face far more dangerous leaps, often without a safety net. What makes the glass bridge so harrowing is how much it mimics real-life disparities. We like to believe success is based on merit, but often it's luck. Who gets the risky first jump, and who benefits from following a safer path. Acknowledging this doesn't diminish effort but highlights the systemic advantages and disadvantages many people face. The glass bridge reminds us that success isn't always about skill. It's about timing, privilege, and systemic factors we often don't control. The real challenge is using our position to create better paths for those who come next. The VIPs spectate from luxury, treating the players' suffering as mere entertainment. They've become so detached that life and death are just part of the spectacle. This is an example of systemic dehumanization, where groups of people are reduced to objects or numbers, their humanity erased for the benefit or entertainment of others. Think of how we consume content about tragedies, natural disasters, wars, or poverty without acting. News cycles and social media sometimes turn real human suffering into stories we scroll past, desensitized by overexposure. Detachment allows people to justify inaction. Just as the VIPs place bets on players, our apathy sometimes leads us to ignore systemic injustices that demand empathy and action. Breaking this cycle starts by seeing people not as statistics, but as individuals with stories. The VIPs remind us that indifference is a dangerous luxury. Real change begins with empathy, choosing to see people's humanity instead of treating them as entertainment or statistics. The masterminds of Squid Game control everything, creating a rigged system that leaves players believing they have a choice, while they're actually trapped by desperation. Psychologists call this learned helplessness, where repeated failures condition people to stop trying, even when change is possible. Debt cycles, exploitative labor practices, and predatory financial systems trap individuals in similar ways. Payday loans and high-interest credit cards promise short-term relief, but often create long-term consequences. Many feel like they're making choices, but those choices are shaped by circumstances they didn't create. What keeps people compliant isn't just fear, but exhaustion. When every attempt to improve leads to failure, people lose hope. This cycle of learned helplessness benefits those in power, as it prevents collective action or rebellion. The game makers show us that many systems are designed to keep us from escaping, but systems are created by people, which means they can be changed. Recognizing this is the first step to breaking free. The most haunting thing about Squid Game isn't the violence, it's how closely it mirrors our own world. From fear of failure to the illusion of choice, the games reflect the hidden struggles we face every day. But here's the twist. Unlike the players, we can change the rules. Ask yourself, what games are you playing in your life? Are you stuck in cycles you didn't choose? Recognizing the system is the first step, but the real power lies in helping others escape too. Together, we can rewrite the rules and build a world where no one has to play these games at all.